So, do you stay the same or do you decide that that is not your story anymore and you evolve and change? Welcome to the Soul Mastery Podcast, formerly known as the Beauty Confidential Lounge. And this is a prime example of evolving into that next level you. I'm Chaitali Desai, and this podcast and everything that I speak to or I speak for is for it's for the visionary who desire sacred alignment, mind, body, business, soul. When we have gotten so accustomed to doing the same thing every day, it becomes a little bit like Groundhog Day, where you just go through the motions. There's not that sense of life, that sense of light, that sense of, oh my God, this just feels so good. It's literally, oh, okay, here's a new day. All right, I make my coffee, I do this, I do that. It's like robotic, yeah? Guys, that's not life. That's just you going through the motions. Just going through the motions. And if in your mind you always feel like, oh, I want to make this change. Maybe it's something as simple as changing your hair color, which is something that I went through myself. So I'm going to speak on that. So let's use that as an example because it's a simple thing, yet it's taken me so long to do that because it was different. So as you're starting to feel these changes come, this desire to change, to shift, it can be really uncomfortable, even with something as simple as changing your hair color. Now, I understand I could have just dyed it back if I didn't like it, but it was the initial process of actually going through that transformation. Again, I know it's a simple example, but your brain, if it's so simple and it's kind of laughable, your brain can accept it easier. Not just you, as humans. It's just something that our mind likes humor, and it diffuses that sense of stress or that sense of, oh, I have to put up a wall right now and defend myself, right? So that's why I use this, just for backstory. But seriously, it took me a little while to get around the thought process and to get into the mindset that, hey, who knows? I may actually really like the new hair color, which, by the way, I do really like. It's fun. It's just different and it just feels so much better. And this version of me, it suits her. We're going to get into that in a second, but let's just talk about the changes. I shared this before and I cannot remember. I don't think it was on the podcast, so I want to bring it here. The first step in creating change or making a change is to shift your belief around change. The word itself has to have a new perspective for you, because when you hear, oh, you have to change, did you feel the wall go up? Because energetically, I could feel it go up. The wall automatically goes up because our brain is trained to protect us, to keep us in our routine, because it knows our daily habits. It knows that, okay, she wakes up at 7 o'clock and then she goes and she does this. She uses the bathroom, brushes her teeth, goes, has coffee. Your brain already knows what to expect. So there's a safety in that expectation. But now you're going to tell your brain, no, we're changing everything up. Forget the coffee. We're going to do electrolyte water and we're going to go run 4 miles in the morning. Your brain, my body is like, holy shit, what? And now the initial step is to change the perspective of change. It can most likely, if you're anything like I was, oh, it'll be hard. Change is too hard. Oh, no, that's going to take too much time. It's going to be too difficult. So instead of shifting, you sit where you are. And you know what happens energetically? The more time you sit in the old, in the comfort, in that comfortable space where even though you know you don't want to be doing it, you keep doing it, you start to get energetically heavy. And what I mean by that is energy is real. So if you're always thinking about something like, okay, I want to make this change, and then you don't follow through, the thought becomes heavy in your body. It may manifest as physical weight, may manifest as like a constant pain. Maybe like you have a constant pain in your hip because in your mind, you're like, I want to get up and I want to walk every day. But now you're not moving. So your body is feeling this and it's holding on to it. You guys can look into it, look into neuroscience, look into how energy works. It is fascinating. And I don't want to keep going on because we both know, or we all know, that I can go down a rabbit hole here. So the first step is to change the idea that the change is going to be hard. Yeah. It doesn't have to be hard. Will it be challenging? Yes. Can you turn it into a game? For sure. That's something that I love doing for myself. Okay, how am I going to take this quote unquote challenge and turn it into a game? Because what does that do? Again, it diffuses some of the thought processes that your mind is having, saying, that alert signal that it's got going on, saying, oh my gosh, she's changing, red alert, red alert, red alert. Instead, it's more like, oh wait, she's just playing a game. Okay, let's see what happens, what she's going to do next. See the difference? So now we've gotten past that first step. The second step is, what do you want to do? For me, changing my hair was one example. I love it now. And you know what? It's not taking a lot more upkeep. I'm not going to lie. I'm a low maintenance person. I used to call myself lazy. I don't anymore because words have power. I am not lazy. I am low maintenance when it comes to my hair. But it hasn't required me to do anything differently. So once I made the change that it was going to be difficult, or it was going to take extra work, I'm going to wash my hair no matter what, right? So you're going to do certain things no matter what. So once you're past that, what is it that you really want to do? My next example is the podcast. It used to be called the Beauty Confidential Lounge. Beauty is still a very important core value of mine, not from an external thing, but for me, beauty is the equivalence of love. It's the equivalence of how my soul speaks. So that's why it was in the name of the podcast. But as I've evolved, it made more sense to use the word soul mastery, because when you come to this podcast, that is what we are doing. While I'm speaking to you, the human, your soul is taking in the information. It is taking that information that you hear here and starting to sit with it and dance with it and think like, okay, so it can be doable. This is going to be fun. I get to change it into a game. That's part of actually why the podcast name changed. I have changed. It made sense to bring that into what I'm doing. And Soul Mastery speaks to it. What is the pivot that you want to create? Maybe it's in your career. Maybe it's your health. Maybe it's your mindset. Maybe it's all of it, right? Because at the end of the day, it's all interconnected. You cannot, once you start to change one thing, there's a cascade that happens positively, typically, assuming that the change was for the better. It's okay to change. And it's okay to try different things until you find the thing that speaks to you the most. And where I'm going with this. So you guys know, like I've taken my coaching and I've transformed it. Yes, I can still teach you business and how to show up on social, how to build out the business for a greater online presence. But what about the person? See, those who used to work with me one-to-one, or those who still work with me one-to-one, they knew what was happening in the background. I was taking different aspects of all of the modalities that I have, or that I'm experienced and educated in, and we were working on those things one-to-one. The problem was, it was only if you were working with me one-to-one did you get to experience that. Not from a selfish standpoint, but you can only work with so many people in a small time frame, right? So from a human standpoint, what I realized is that there's a different way. So I get to create different opportunities for you to work with me, right? So it's the human design, it's the hypnosis, or maybe you're like, I want all of it and you want to join me in the Soul Rebellion one-to-one container. There are so many different ways to come to change. And another great way to look at change is evolution. You're becoming, with capital B, capital E, this next version of you. And how beautiful is that you are experiencing that? And with any change, there's always going to be a growth period. I'll tell you, I've been sitting in the void for a while now, and there's nothing scary about the void. It is the place of creativity. It is, if you think of the void, similar to like if you've ever experienced having a baby, you don't know what's happening. Like, you know that you're feeding the baby, you're taking care of yourself so that the baby is healthy, you're drinking your water, walking, whatever it is that your protocol created or that you created for yourself as a protocol. But it's not like you're peeking in and seeing that the baby is growing, right? And I know, again, sounds kind of random, but it's the same thing as the void. When you're sitting in the void, you don't really know. You have ideas that come to you. You have this thing that starts to bubble, that starts to grow, and then all of a sudden there's that moment of birth. Or of like, oh, this makes sense. You guys heard a couple of podcast episodes ago that that's exactly what happened. I needed to step away in order to be able to step in and say, oh, this is how I get to serve people at a different level, in my opinion, an even bigger level. Pivoting, evolving, it's okay. So if it's something that you've been toying, something that you've been thinking about for a while, let this be your permission slip. And I know it sounds silly, but it's how we've been conditioned. If someone says, hey, you can go and do this, then you feel more comfortable to do this. And I'll tell you, as someone who leads from the front, it's something that I had to do for myself. And I'm so grateful that I allowed that space. I'm so grateful I had that space to be able to really process, okay, what is next? What is this next iteration going to be? And to be honest, I love it. And I can only imagine how much more powerful it's going to become. So this next iteration, what does it include? Well, it definitely will always include mind, body, business, soul. It's 4 pillars that make you. And business can be interchangeable with life, your lifestyle, your subconscious programming, how you've been thinking and how you want to be thinking. So business it's interchangeable with lifestyle. Yeah. Because what I do is I work with you, the individual. And that's also part of why I don't have one way to work with me. There's nothing cookie cutter about me. So the offer could not be cookie cutter, isn't it? Makes more sense that it is customized to where you are, because that is one of my gifts. I'm able to meet you where you are and help you get to that next level. So if you're new to business, for example, and you're wanting to make that first 5,000, I meet you where you are and I help get you to that next level. If you are in the process of a lifestyle change, maybe you're wanting to become more fit, right? Summer is around the corner. You're like, oh gosh, I want to be out on the beach, enjoying my time with my children. Because as women, I know we can be very, very self-aware of what we look like in a bathing suit, right? I know for me, I feel that way. So I'm just going to go based on my feelings here. You get nervous and you want to be able to present your best foot forward for yourself. Because if you are confident within, you get to just be present while you're with your children, making memories, right? So how does that happen? Well, we start looking at your thought processes. How are you thinking? Again, so much of our conditioning is based on what we've seen. And when I say conditioning, it's your how you're thinking. You didn't come out into the world as a baby being self-aware. Have you seen a baby? They don't care. They're just there. They could have their diaper on, clothes on. They could just be naked. They're just there and they're just so happy. And you're so happy to see their joy. And as we grow older, the conditioning begins, right? You're too big, you're too small, you're too tall, you're too short, you're too brown, you're not brown enough, whatever. You get to shift all of that. And you hear me always say you get to, because it is a choice. It is a choice. And you get to take responsibility for that. You get to responsibly say, you know what? I'm tired of my own nonsense. I'm tired of my own bullshit. Okay, I'm ready to make that change. And the best way to know how to start changing, where to start, because maybe you're like, oh my God, Chaitali, I have so many things. Where does number one? That's what the discovery call is for. It's a complimentary call. Hop on, you'll find the link in the show notes. Utilize the call. Whether we work together or not, doesn't matter. You will walk away from that call with practical, tactical ways of creating the change you desire. And oftentimes it's small tweaks here and there. So I'm inviting you today, hop on the discovery call with me. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. And then if we think that we're a great fit, then we can speak about working together after that. I'm not big, I love sales. Actually, I think sales is really fun, but I don't believe in sales pressure. I'm not going to have you hop on a call with me and me tell you, well, if you don't buy from me today, blah, blah, blah. I don't buy into that. If you're going to buy from me, you probably already know it. I don't have to convince you. That's not my job. My job is to give you actionable ways of creating the change that you're desiring, whether it be through human design, whether it be the hypnosis, or maybe it's the whole package. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know, and you don't know yet. So hop on the call. You have everything to gain. And if I'm not the person for you, believe me, I will tell you. And I know plenty of other people that I get to refer you to. So I think if you've been toying with this idea of making a change in your world, understand you can do it. And you hear so often, you just commit yourself to it. Simply commit yourself to it. While the path may not be comfortable at times, it's the best way to grow. You're not going to grow in your comfort level where you're sitting right now. And a lot of the times, if you're constantly thinking about the thing you're wanting to change and you're not following through on it, you're probably kind of going to end up being stuck in this negative feedback loop mentally where you're like, oh, I want to make this change. Oh, I didn't make this change. I'm a loser, right? Or, oh, I said I was going to eat better and then I had a candy bar, so screw it. I had the candy bar. Now I'm going to have all this other stuff. And then you feel bad. Can you see the loop? In business, oh, I said I was going to go talk to that person. I didn't do it, or I was just too scared. I couldn't do it. I'm not good at business. See how you are feeding the negative energy? Catch yourself. If you said you were going to do something, let's say you're going to start going for a walk every morning. What is something that you can do to help make that happen? Well, you could probably go to sleep earlier. And I have something for sleep coming shortly, because if you guys follow me on social media, you know I am like obsessed with everything sleep right now. And I'll save that for another episode. But holy shit, sleep, I cannot even believe how important sleep is. I know now it makes sense why Arianna Huffington wrote the whole book for sleep. Profound. Anyways, I'm not going on a tangent, but you could go to sleep earlier. You could lay out all your clothes and your sneakers, your socks, everything you're going to need to go make that walk happen in the morning. You could set the alarm for maybe 10 minutes earlier, so you have a little bit of a window if that's something that makes you feel better about getting up earlier. So if you need to get up at 7, then maybe make the alarm at 6:45 or 6:50 to give you that sense of, okay, I can do this. The pep talk you need to get out of bed. What else could you do? You could just decide to get up and get it done. There are so many ways. And from this example, while again, it's a simple example, I hope you see that practical, tactical, easy steps that really sound too simple, but will actually create the biggest changes. So I'm excited for you guys to hear what you're looking to change. What's the desire? To understand that it is possible, and hop on the discovery call for even easy, actionable steps for you. You'll find all of that in the show links below, and I'm excited for you. If you're open to having the conversation, I can't wait to hear, and I cannot wait to be your cheerleader. Whether we work together or not is a whole separate story, but to cheer you on. I'm excited for the possibilities, and I hope you are too. Thank you so much for listening. I'm excited to see you on a discovery call. And like always, I'm wishing you a beautiful day. And remember,